Okay, it is 1 o'clock and hopefully all of you can hear me just fine. Today's topic of this session is Canvas backups and the import process. And I do want to address some related issues before we get started. One of the things is why do we even need to backup, import, restore? What do we need to do? And I want to talk a little bit about the courses. A master course has a template in it that has your course banner in it, that has the syllabus template in it where you filled in, highlighted your syllabus, your CID, and you linked all those items and filled that in. A provision course, which is a term course, is totally empty, except for one thing, which is the instructor evaluation that's in it. So the reason you want to use a master course, even if you're just using traditional courses, is you need to have that template. If you start designing in here, you won't have the course banner, you won't have the templated content that you need in your syllabus, and so your course will look different than the rest of the courses at SCC. So it's really important to have a master course for every course that you teach, whether it's traditional, online, or hybrid. And if you don't remember where to go to do the request for the master course, and it's not too late to do that, would be in the orientation course, and the link to request the master course is right here. We've had quite a few questions about, can I ask for a separate master for an 8-week term course? Or if I teach a course on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Monday, Wednesday, and I teach on Tuesday, Thursday, and my dates are different, what do I do with that? Ask for 2 master courses, and if you've got one already built out, just copy it into your new master course, adjust your dates, and then use that particular course to populate the relevant term courses. So make sure that you do definitely start out with using a master course that has a template before you use that for your term courses, and you copy into your term courses rather than just building content from scratch within them. Okay. Another thing I want to mention before we really get started is use Chrome as your web browser, because lately Firefox has been a little glitchy. And I know that a lot of people, the IT department updated Firefox on college-wide, but a lot of people had pinned Firefox down on their taskbar on their Windows machines. And that means you're linking to the old Firefox, which isn't going to work very well. So unpin the shortcut off of your taskbar and then launch your Firefox from the shortcut on the desktop. That's the one that will really house the newest version. And then once you get the newest one running, then go ahead and pin the new one again. But that old pin is going to cause you problems and take you to things that you don't want to see happening for you. So if you do have problems in Firefox, just use Chrome. That's kind of the answer. Internet Explorer is not supported, and we're getting a lot of support questions from people who are basically using Internet Explorer and noticing problems. So one of the things you can do first when you troubleshoot is to just try to do the same thing that you were doing in your other web browser, but try to do it in Chrome and see if the problem resolves itself. If it doesn't, then you kind of know where you're headed. Then you could ask questions. All right, the first topic that I'm going to talk about is how to make a course backup. Now, at this point in time, we should probably just be making backups of our master courses. And I will mention this. In Moodle, there was a weekly backup process, and your course got updated and backed up every week. That is different in Canvas. Canvas doesn't have that built in, or that ability to back up all the courses like that automatically. And so if you want to make sure that you protect your course content, it might be a good idea that you do a weekly backup of your course and just store it on your desktop and then replace it each week with the newest backup. We do have a test site that there is a chance of getting materials from if something goes wrong, but it would be best if you had your own backups, and then we could work with those if you had any issues. We did cover in the other session, a different session the other day, and there is information in the orientation course for it. But as you're doing your last minute things, we've had a lot of people go, Whoops, I goofed up, I made a mistake. And if you're in a course that has content and you're on the home page here, you see a number up here. And all you have to do at the back of that is type the /undelete. And then it will take you to a screen that shows you things that you've deleted and gives you the opportunity to restore them. Now, if you've deleted a module, all you've deleted is the title of the module and any URL links that were in it, and the URLs can't be restored. But remember, in Canvas, your items, your pages sit in pages, your files sit in files, your assignments sit in assignments, your quizzes sit in quizzes, discussions sit in discussions. So when you delete a module from the front page, you're not deleting the individual items that were in that module, you're only deleting the container. Now that means you'd have to recreate the module, or you could come here and restore the module, and then you would have to rehook up your pages, your assignments, your discussions. You kind of have to rebuild it, but the content's not gone. It's all just disconnected from the modules page. This information about restoring deleted items is in the orientation course, and if you go to your orientation course and look at your announcements, you will be able to see it, but I'll just take you over here and take a quick peek. I have to remember where it is. Oh, it's at the bottom of the course design and development section, recover deleted Canvas content, and it will explain how to do it. It will show you an example, and it will give you 2 pointers. Undelete will only show the last 20 items deleted. It is not date sensitive, so it will only just store 20 items at a time. I might comment, this is not an official Canvas supported feature, but it's out there and they don't have documentation on it, so that's why we're also providing it here. It's a tip or a trick that Brandon came up with, he found, and we've been using it. And I did talk to Canvas support. They don't know when they're going to officially incorporate it, so that probably means they aren't intending to, but it's out there for us to take advantage of. So those are a couple of last minute details that might be helpful and help you out if you do get in a bind as you try to do these last minute things. And don't panic. It is possible to try to get some of this stuff back. Okay, now let me move something around here a little bit so that I can go. Let's go into the backup, how to do a backup. And again, I have to move some things because I've got that Zoom meeting running and it's in my way. When you want to make a backup of your course, either to store it for yourself, you know, just that weekly backup, or like I've done a bunch of grading, you know, that's a good time to do a backup too. When you do your backup, just those are reasons why. And then at the end of the term, it would also be a good idea to do a backup, even though we are not rolling term courses off of the server. You can still go back to your term courses and you can see those courses, but you know, that backup is that extra security blanket that I kind of prefer. If I were teaching, I would definitely be doing it. So how do we do it? I'm in a pretend course now that has content in it. I'll just show you very quickly. Here's content. So let's say I've finished a bunch of grading. I want to do settings. So I click on settings in the course navigation menu. And then I choose export course content right here. And then I can either export a course or a quiz. This is kind of handy. The quiz option is kind of nice if you've built a test or an exam that you want to share with another instructor. You can just give them that quiz. But I'm going to go ahead and create the export and process. And I might mention while this is processing, this might also be an easy way for someone who has been a course designer and built out a master that they intend to share with other instructors. It might be an easier way to get that content to the other instructor than to try to, you know, make sure everybody's a user and then share content by doing the copy. You can also make a backup of your course and then download that backup and then share that file with other users also. Let me just go into my email now because it will show me that I have a new export. Let me go into my SCC email account. And it's not there yet, but if a new export's available, it's not showing yet, it will show me that in this menu here. So just be aware that it will show it to you in your email. When it's finished exporting, I've got an export I played with an hour ago here, just a test drive before we had the session, but your newest export will always say new export. You can click on that link, and then you can see it's downloading down here on my computer. I'm using a Mac, but on a Windows machine, you'll get that prompt also, and it should download to wherever you designate your downloads to go on your computer. Most SEC computers are the downloads folder on a Windows machine. I have configured mine to download to the desktop, and right here is that download file, and it will be ending with the extension IMSCC. So this is my copy of my course, and it uses the title of the course too. Mine is a sandbox, but that's your downloaded file. All right, does anybody have questions about that before I move forward? Doesn't sound like there are questions, so I'm going to go back to my dashboard now. And now we're going to put that content in an empty course, okay? This is not how I would recommend this is not what I would recommend you do if you have your master course and you're ready to put it in your term course. There's a faster way to do it. But I'm just showing you now how to do the backup and then how to import that or copy that into another course. Again, let me restate, a good use for this would be for other peers that need a copy of your course and they don't have access to your master course. You could actually email that attachment to them, and then they could use this following step to bring it into their course. And you wouldn't have to deal with users and sharing access. Okay, so I'm going to go to an empty course, and please make sure it is an empty course, and then go to settings. And again, check your title up here so you're not importing into the wrong thing. Check, check, and recheck. Okay, now I'm going to import course content. Since I have a backup, I am going to choose Canvas course export package, because remember, I exported it, so this is the export package that I'm using. I choose that. I choose file. I have to go find the file. My computer doesn't know off the top of its head where it is. And I think it started with an S. It's right here. So I choose it. I open. I can also choose all content or select specific content. That would be handy if you are getting a copy of somebody else's course, but maybe you only want portions of it and you know exactly what you want. Then you would choose select specific content, and it would give you the option to choose your content. I think we've demonstrated that in enough sessions in the past that I probably won't do that right here. I'll probably do it with a different course, but let's, for this example, just choose all content, because in this scenario, it's most likely that if somebody has a Canvas course export package, they're wanting the entire course. So let's just use what's logical here and choose import. It's queued, and all you have to do is be patient and wait for it to run. And then after it has finished running, we should be able to go into the course and look to see that the content is indeed there. One thing you always need to be sure of once you do an import of any type is that the banner page, the home page, is set as your course homepage or as the front page of your course. It won't, sometimes importing will disconnect that home page. I've seen it happen a lot in imported term courses, and we'll do that. I'll talk about that again. But please double check to make sure that your home page is always your front page of your course, which is the home page that we've created for you. And I will later on show you how that works to double check that. While we're waiting for this to run, are there any questions that are popping up that I should address? At a later point here, I will talk a little bit about how to add users to a course, which is more relevant when you're doing the course copy, and I'll talk about that. You can only add users.
Question
Okay.
in the chat. Are you suggesting that we do a backup before import, or can we just import from the master?
No, I am recommending this backup process only for sharing with somebody that does not have access to your course, or backing it up for archiving purposes to keep your content in, of your course. So this process I would recommend only for those two reasons. I would not recommend this process if you have a master course, you have an empty term course, and you want to put your master course content in your term course. This is not the process I would recommend for that. I will show that next, and we'll talk about that a little bit in just a little bit here, like very next. But this would be primarily used for someone who does not have access to your course, and you just as soon give them a copy of the course as a file, as opposed to hooking them up and letting them copy and have editing rights in your master and that sort of thing. They can't ruin anything if they have a copy of your file. They can't accidentally ruin something in your master course. Okay, now let's just go to home and see what we ended up with. Okay, click on modules. And this course is full of content now. Okay, I would check your modules, your syllabus page, your home page, your grade book. Go to assignments and check grades just to make sure everything is there and everything is correctly set. A final thing I would check is I would go down my course menu and make sure that it is the one that is described in the required elements, and that you don't have extra items here for students that they don't need. And I'm going to reiterate this again too, just as a troubleshooting tip. You do not want to show your students your pages, your files, your assignments, your quizzes, your discussions. Conferences and collaborations are hidden here for a reason, because we're not using them, the outcomes. In other words, you don't want your students to go directly to quizzes. You don't want them to go directly to your files or directly to your assignments. Their primary navigation technique should be to the modules. And so you need to make sure that that's where you're sending your students. Okay, now I'm going into the next step, which is the one I would recommend. If you have a completed master course, you're ready to put your content in your provision term course. Couple caveats here. Number one, don't do this until you're absolutely done with your master course, that you have, excuse me, gone and checked all your final things. And I'm in the instructor orientation course. Remember, here is a list of the required Canvas elements, another checklist, and a cheat sheet for you to double check. But here are the required elements. Put yourself through the test and see if you can check off everything on this required elements checklist. Do this before you import into your, or copy into your provision course, because if you have a mistake, then you have to fix it in two places, and that is not convenient. Also, the instructional design staff no longer has the power to do anything like clearing the content or bad content or wrong content out of a provision course. So it is a bigger process now than it used to be, so be super careful. Make sure you have everything in order before you do your import. I know a few instructors have been importing little bits and pieces of their master course at a time and doing the selective content. I would not recommend that. Get your course finished, move it over into the term course, inspect your term course, and be done. Okay, so you do have to be an instructor in the course, or a teacher in the course, both the master and the term, to copy a course. And so let's say you want to allow someone else, another instructor, to use your master to copy into a course. The instructions on how to do that are once again in the orientation course, the faculty orientation course, and it's going to be under people, because we're dealing with people, right? Users are people. And then down here is a link that says, how do I give a supervisor or instructor access to a course? And we've written the documentation here. Please note, the instructional design team cannot add anyone to a provisioned course. You can't add anyone to a provision course. If you read through this, only a registrar can add anyone to a provision course. However, and it tells you in this document who to contact if you need to have someone put in your provision course. However, if you're in a master course, the steps for adding an instructor are right here. It's very simple. You open the master course, you click people, the people option, add the person's email address. It would be, for example, sfielder@southeast.edu. If I were adding myself, or that's the usual email address, but if someone has not yet logged into the course, it's going to show up by their employee ID number, and you can't add them with their name. And then you choose the role next, and then choose add users. It will send an invitation out to the person that you added to the course. They have to click into the course in order to have access to it and accept the invitation. But that's how you add someone to a master course, and only a master course. Well, you can do it in your sandbox too.
Question from the chat.
Yes.
Can we no longer override the master at the end of the semester?
There has been some confusion about that, and some settings have been changed, but they're changed back. Hold on a moment. I believe the reset option has been restored to the master courses. So you indeed can reset your master and your sandbox. If it's not there now, it will be, but really be careful with that reset button, because once you hit reset, you have cleared out all the content. And that undelete function is not going to do you any good. So if you want to be super cautious, that's when I would recommend to make a backup of your master, download the backup file, then do the reset. Then if you realize, oops, I reset the wrong course, the wrong master or something, you have that backup file that you can put back in that course. But yes, I do believe faculty can reset masters so that at the end of the term, if they've made changes in their provision term course during the course of the term, which is likely to happen, updating, changing, revising, then you could actually overwrite your master course with that term course, but you can't, the only thing you can do is to reset the master course and make it empty. If you choose the copy process and copy back into your master, you're going to have duplicated material. You're going to have two courses dumped into one. So the reset is an important option that you need to use before you import your term course back into your master. Does that clarify it for everybody? Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is copy a course, okay? You must be an instructor in both of the courses. We already went through, you can't add anyone to a term course, you can't add users to a term course. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to now, this is the process I recommend to faculty to use to get ready for the start of the semester on Monday. Your master course is done. You've done things like and I should show you a couple of things here because I don't know that everybody remembers to do this. First of all, you should do the student view and preview your course as a student to see if everything is working right, because lots of stuff works right for you as an instructor that might not work right for the student. So you want to do that. You'll probably want to publish your course. You're probably obviously you're going to need to go into your modules and publish your modules, publish the items in the modules, do your final cleanup, make sure everything's all in and all done and available so that when you go into the student preview, you can see everything as a student that you intend to have your students see. And then there are a couple other things that I think that you need to do. First of all, you need to run your You Do It report, which is your accessibility checker, and attend to anything in here that the You Do It, I'm not going to run this one right now, but attend to anything in here that the You Do It report suggests you fix so that you have your course in good shape before you transfer it. Why do anything twice? Brandon, do you want to make any comments about You Do It since you're kind of the expert on that? Because you've had a lot of people ask questions. Can we throw some comments in here at this point?
The biggest thing is if you don't know, it gives you most of the directions on how and why it's fixing certain things, but certain things can be false positives, so don't take it as gospel or the Bible. That it still has to be reviewed to see if it makes sense. It tells you why something's wrong, but if your situation doesn't match why it's telling you it's wrong, it's potential that it could be a false positive and it's not actually an issue.
Okay, one thing, am I right, Brandon, that it will mark things that are typed in boldface or italics, and it will tell you that that's not recommended, correct?
Correct. So it's saying if you're using like color, bold, italics to call emphasis to something, that a screen reader doesn't read those texts, or that they should be headers and things like that. So it truly depends on how you're using those styles. If you're using them to call emphasis, well, then you do have something that needs corrected. But if you're using them to just make your fonts look better or your design better or anything like that, and it's not calling emphasis or anything like that, then it's not an accessibility issue. So it's all context of what you're using it for.
So for example, if I had something and it said, look below at the things marked in red, those are important dates. The screen reader can't read the red, so it couldn't distinguish which ones are the important dates and isolate them from the other dates. So that would be a problem. But let's
Correct.
you
So
mark
then
all. Go ahead.
you'd want to use some other method. So you'd either want to like type the word important in front of each of the date, or use an image with an alt tag that's important, that the alt tag says important. So some other method to identify that.
So here's an example of a report summary, and it gives me the error. I've got a heading that doesn't have text in it, and it has some suggestions here about how to fix it, and explains what to do. And then here's some other things. I have some pages that have problems. So let's just open one of those. It says the link should be descriptive, and Brandon will laugh because I have a big problem with this. I like to use the words click here and then link it, and that's not the correct way to do it, and it explains it. So it can even fix some of this for you automatically, but I prefer to go in manually and repair the issue. But it tells me where it is. It's in this document called midterm instructions, and if I click that, it opens it in a new window. And it shows me where my problems are. So this is not the right way to set those up. So the You Do It report is very helpful, and please make sure that you go ahead and go through this and fix the things that need to be fixed. So that's a step before you do a copy. Anything else about You Do It, Brandon?
No, I would just say that if you come across something and you don't know how, or you don't know what it's giving you, you can always reach out and we can look at it and give you insight on how to fix it, or why it's giving you that message, or if it's a false positive if you're ever concerned.
Right, so send an email to instructionaldesign@southeast.edu, and somebody on the team can actually go into your course, and I think they'll be able to see your You Do It report or run a new one and take a look. But pretty well be specific. Don't just say, help, my You Do It had 1 error, 6 suggestions, and 50 unscannable files. Ask a specific question about what you're having problems with in there. Okay, one other thing you should do before doing your course copy is going into settings and then validate links in content. This will go through your course and check all the links in your course from top to bottom. And that's awesome, because I've had broken links before and had no idea. This would be an important thing to do at the beginning of every term, because sometimes a link that's valid now, 2 or 3 months from now, won't work. And so this one shows there are no broken links, but if we did, it would list the items, and you could go right into those and repair those links and then run your validator again. You should have 0 broken links always in this validator. Okay, those are the 2 steps before, well, 3 steps. Make sure your course is completely finished and published, and then make sure that you do the student view. Well, there's more than that I lied, my numbers are bad. So you publish, anybody that knows me is probably laughing. you actually run the UDoIT report, and then you check your link validator, and if all those things pass muster and you've gone through the required elements, then it's time to move into the provision course and copy your master course into your term course. So here I have a pretend term course, and again, make sure you're going the right direction with this. Go to the empty course and copy into it. Otherwise, you'll create a disaster, right? So I guess I would always make a backup of my master and download it before I tried this process so I don't accidentally ruin things. All right, I open the term course and I can see that it shows the instructor evaluation. I'll talk to you about what to do with that in a little bit. That should be in every term course, but if I go to settings and I want to import course content, okay, it's super simple. In this case, we're going to do something different than the demonstration I showed you before, and I'm going to copy a Canvas course, okay? This is when you have a master of your own or a master someone else has given you, and you're going to copy that master into your term course. So you copy a Canvas course. I search for a course, so let me see here. I have access to a lot. Let me search for something a little easier. All right, I don't know what's in this course, but I'm going to try to import it. Whoops, that gives me a naughty note. What's it say? Oh, I hovered over it. Oh, look what I just tried to do. I tried to copy my empty course into my empty course, and that's not good. So let me see if I can find something else here. Let's just find a master. I'm going to grab, I'm just trying to find something. This is something I forgot to anticipate before we did the session. Hang on. Let me look for, I know what I'll do. I need to go to an instructor that I have permission to copy course content. Otherwise, I don't want to. And I also want to make sure that I copy something that has content in it. I could actually choose select specific content now, and if I did that, it would give me choices here, and I could do the specific content. I think most people at this point are going to choose all content. If you want to learn more about selecting specific content and how that works, reach out to instructional design at southeast.edu. At this point in time, I don't think people are going to be using that much. We used it an awful lot when we were bringing in those Moodle masters that had all sorts of garbage in them. It was a perfect opportunity to clean out. But in here, at this point in theory, your course should be clean, ready to go, and ready to import. So we're going to choose all content, and I'm just choosing import. You can see that it's queued. We have to wait again and let it run. And after we're finished with this section, I'm going to digress slightly, and I'm going to talk about how to import a question bank, a QTI file from Canvas, or it's a QTI is a question bank file that is designed for Canvas, and I'll show everybody how to do that too. It's just kind of a side note because it is also an import option that I want to talk about for just a little bit. So we'll let this run. Are there any questions as we wait? No questions. Are there any questions kind of like, ooh, that looked like that went backwards, like on another note while we wait?
So if you have a course in a term course and you want, there's something in there, let's say you had, I don't have to think of that. If you added something in your term course and something in your master, and if you want to copy the master and over the term course, would it do that, or do you have to erase the term first?
All right, the question was, if I already have something in my term course and it's not right for some reason, how do I take care of that? You'll have to send an email to the help desk because we can't wipe out any content in a provision course, and we don't have the reset option ourselves. But if you left it in there and imported your master, that content would still be there. However, if it's before the term has started and it's only a few little things, like maybe you just built one module and you don't want it in there or whatever, if it's a small thing like that, then I think the faster process would be to just go to the module page and delete the things that you don't want, and then check your assignments for duplication, your pages for duplication, your files for duplication, and do your own cleanup a little bit. But if you've, let's say you've accidentally imported an entire, let's say you put English 1010 into the English 1020 provisioned course, or the term course, that's a major problem. You would have to email help desk and give them the exact course name of the provision course that has the bad content in it. That will expedite things. Don't just say, I made a mistake in my English 1020 course, can you wipe it out? You know, copy the name out of the actual provision course, and better yet, you could also include the web address of that provision course, and that would expedite things for the help desk people who will contact IT, because a lot of things have to happen then to make that course work and hook up with the colleague system, with the student information system.
Okay.
So.
And that can't be done after something's been done in the course either, so it has to be prior to the start date.
Absolutely. If students have started participating in the course, you have a disastrous mess, because it will ruin the student content, and you can't do that either. All right, so I must have picked a really large course, or our internet connection down here is super slow today. Okay, now it's completed. All right, now the next step to do would be to go to the home page. Now in this case, when I imported, the home page stayed, okay? It doesn't always stay. If you see the modules here instead of this banner page, then you need to choose home page and then select pages front page. So I'm going to show you what happens in a lot of imports when you copy a course. Okay, save. Okay, when I go to home, I see the content module. This is absolutely something everybody has to check. Please, please, please check every one of your provision courses and make sure it's not going to the modules page. You know, your mind doesn't, you all have been working in the modules page forever, so this looks familiar, you know what you're doing. Students won't. And we want it to be uniform throughout the college, so the students have a landing page that's familiar to them no matter what course they're in. So if you hit the home button and you see the modules page, that just means that your home page has come unhooked. It's not gone, it's right here. Pages, front page, home page. Choose it instead and save. Now, it would be a very odd case when you use choose home page and there was nothing here. If that happens, you'll have to send an email to instructional design at southeast.edu and ask us to help you get your home page back or recreate it, okay? The next thing to do would be to check your syllabus, make sure that all your links stayed and everything is fine there. Go into your modules, because here's an important thing. That instructor evaluation was in your provision course. You don't want the instructor evaluation to be the first thing that people see in their course. So you want to drag that using those draggers right here, right? You want to drag it down to the end of the course. And of course, I picked a very long course. But I
On a
think
long course like this, you can also hit the 3 dots, and there's an option just to move to bottom.
Ah, thank you, Brandon. I did not know that. So like if I click here, move module. Oh, awesome. Learn something new every day. Did everybody see that? I did not know that existed.
It's great.
Way more efficient, way more efficient. So if you click the, like Brandon said, next to instructor evaluation, click the 3 dots, choose move, and it'll let you choose what location to move it to. Well, that'll be handy with other modules also. So then your last thing to do would be to go to your assignments, not your last thing, but check your gradebook, make sure your gradebook setup is accurate. Another way to see your gradebook setup very quickly is to go to the syllabus, and you can see here what your grade weighting is, which is kind of handy. I've had people not realize they didn't have 100% in here, you know, and it's a good way to quickly check. You all know your own CID, and if you didn't, you could even click on your CID, scroll down to your grade weighting, because a lot of you have different classes that are weighted differently, and so you're like, which class am I in? Right here, I can line it up and compare and make sure that it is. Now, this one's not quite looking right, but it's for a real reason. It's because this will be importing some content that isn't here yet. So anyway, that is how to copy a course.
By default, they'll always have to delete an assignments group because every course has an assignments group by default.
Yes, thank you, Brandon. There'll be an empty assignment category right here. And so all you'd have to do is go over here and delete that. And I would have actually, if I'd have paid attention, I would have noticed that when I was demonstrating the list and the syllabus. But yes, here it is. And so it is a good idea to actually go back to your grade book, make sure that everything is sorted the way it should be. I've been playing with this course, so I've got some extra things in here that shouldn't be in here. And now this course is ready to go. Any questions about that from folks? Okay, last topic. I'm going to just choose this course. I don't think it's empty anymore because I think I played with it, right? Okay, let me quickly, now this is a sandbox, so I have the rights on this sandbox to choose the reset course content option, okay? I need an empty course to show you what I want to show you next, so I'm going to reset the course content, and don't just go fa la 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 and click, read it. I mean, just, it tells you exactly what will be gone if you want to reset. And I'm checking here, it's an empty course, I know it's a fake course, I'm in the right place, I'm going to reset. Because you can't recover from that reset. There's no way to recover. Okay, so now the next thing I want to do is show you how to import a question bank. A lot of you have question banks from publishers, and your publisher will send you a zip file, okay? Or you'll get it from somewhere, like a book rep, the website for your textbook, and so on. If you double click this, that's what you should do first, because when you double click it, you're going to find out that was a zip file of zipped files. These are all the question banks for this particular textbook. There are 15 chapters. So you can import those publisher test banks, but Canvas will not work with a zip file of the zipped files. And it doesn't hurt to double click a zip file and see what it extracts. If this said chapter1.doc or something different, then you would know that that's not right either. But here you can see I've extracted the files because these are the individual files that you have to import. You cannot import all 15 at once. You have to import each question bank one at a time, which isn't difficult. You just need to be aware that's how it works. So let's go back over here. I'm going to import course content. This time I'm going to check a QTI zip file. That's a question bank. Okay, QTI question bank. And I'm going to choose the file. Remember that I have already unzipped that file. And it's right here. I can choose chapter 1, chapter 1, open. I would not choose either one of these options. I'd leave those alone, and I would choose import. And it will import just like it will course content. And so it's waiting, but that's how you would, and now it's completed. Does anybody know? Testing, anybody? Should I put you on the spot? Where would you go to look for your question bank? Quizzes. And then the 3 dots beside there. Manage question banks. Some of you don't work with question banks, wouldn't know that, you know, but then here are the quiz questions for chapter 1. Now this might be a good time to go through and delete things that you don't like. You know, review your question bank, delete, or if you want to edit questions and change it a little bit, be a good time to do it. So that is how you import a question bank one chapter at a time into Canvas. I can also, if I think about it, let's say that somebody wants a copy of my test, right? I've built all my question banks, but they want my final exam because I've built a really good final exam. So I can export course content and I can export a quiz. All right, since I only have chapter 1 in here, I can only export chapter 1 quiz, but if it said final exam, I could uncheck this and I could only choose a certain chapter also. So this is a way that I can export and create the QTI file that people could use for an import, okay? So now I click on that and it downloaded a zip file for me. That is landed on my desktop, oh, right here, okay? And that is my quiz export. It even tells me what it is. And then I could actually use this, then you can give that file to someone else, and then they could actually take those files and get your copies of your test or your test bank. If you chose all of them, then this would be a zip file that would work then to upload all tests and all into another course. So that's that. Do we have any questions? Any other, like, I'm in the middle of something here yet and I have a quick question? Anything like that? Because I've pretty well gone through everything that with backups, it restores. I do want to remind you all that if you go to the orientation course, the instructor orientation course, and if you go to modules, and to the bottom we do have how to copy content from, and we probably, as time goes on, we'll go into a little bit more detail with a few things here, but I think it's straightforward enough that I think most people have good success with it.
Question on how to create quiz from question banks.
Go for it. I'm not sure I can answer it. I'm not really good at that. What's the question?
It just was, what are the quick steps to create a quiz from a question bank?
Well, you go ahead and create a quiz here. Then to add questions to your quiz, you click here. You can either type new questions and create a new question group, or you can find questions, which I hope will open your question bank, and then you can choose your questions out of your question bank. Does that answer the question? So now these two questions have been added to my quiz. And that's the down and dirty easiest way to do it. If you have more questions about that, there is a whole unit in the Instructor Reference Center on quizzes and building quizzes and how to group quizzes, how to randomize quiz questions and all that sort of stuff. So that's just the down and dirty on how to add some questions from the question bank. Any other questions about that? All right, if not, I will end the meeting. I don't have my schedule with me right now. We could go into the newsletter. Well, I think Amy's session is tomorrow at 1 o'clock, I believe, and it's on gradebook and grading. And I think that would be an important one to pass the word to folks to attend, because she's going to show you a little bit about how to run the speed grader, you know, has some real student data in a course, and actually walk you through some things about how to do grading, because that's going to be our next big thing. The courses are created, they're in the course. Yes, we'll probably have to troubleshoot some glitchy things that happen, but by and large, the next question from faculty will be, how do I grade this? You know, how do I find this? How do I change a grade in the grade book? How do I do those grading things? And so tomorrow I think will be a really important one that folks should attend, and I believe it's at 1 o'clock. If you don't know for sure, check your newsletter. The schedule will be in there, and that newsletter was sent out from instructional design at southeast.edu. So we are anxious to help you out again, so we'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks, everyone, for attending.
Thank you.
Is that helpful? Did you get?
Oh, yes. Thank
Good.
heavens, you speak with a clear voice and speak distinctly and clearly.
I don't. I get in a hurry and I talk fast.
Well, okay, but some of your colleagues, it's really difficult. I love Mohammed, but
Yeah,